There is a specific heavy silence that exists only in one place on Earth, and only during a specific window of time. It is not the silence of a library, which is a demanded, enforced quiet, nor is it the silence of a church, which is a reverent, spiritual hush. No, this is the silence of a machine that has been unplugged. This is the silence of a school hallway during the middle of July. When you step through those heavy double doors, usually propped open by a rubber wedge or a stray brick, the first thing that hits you is the smell. It is a scent that bypasses your logical brain and hotwires your amygdala, dragging you instantly back to being 14 years old. It is a mixture of industrial-strength floor wax, stale chalkboard dust, old paper, and that faint metallic tang of the heating pipes. But something is missing. The biological element is gone. The smell of sweat, of cheap body spray, of anxiety, and of hundreds of breathing bodies is absent. This absence creates a vacuum, a sensory void that your brain tries desperately to fill. You are standing in the main corridor. The sunlight is streaming in through the high, reinforced windows, hitting the floor at an angle you never see during the school year. Because during the year, you are in class during these hours, or the hallways are so choked with bodies that the light never touches the ground. But now, in the summer, the light claims the space. It illuminates the millions of dust motes dancing in the air, microscopic particles of skin, clothing fibers, and dirt left behind by the students who have fled. The floor, usually scuffed and matte with the traffic of sneakers, is now polished to a mirror sheen. It looks like a frozen lake. It reflects the rows of lockers, distorting them into long, colorful monoliths that stretch down into the darkness. This visual perfection is unsettling. It feels wrong. A school is designed for chaos. It is built to contain the kinetic energy of youth. Without that energy, the architecture feels hostile. The lockers, standing like silent sentinels, seem to be watching you. They are no longer storage units. They are sealed tombs of teenage secrets. This is the definition of a liminal space. The word liminal comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. It is a place of transition, a waiting room between one reality and the next. A school hallway is designed solely to get you from math to history, from period 1 to period 2. It is not a destination. But in the summer, when the destination, the classroom, is locked and dark, the hallway becomes the entire universe. It exists in a state of suspended animation. Time does not flow here. The clocks on the wall, those analog monstrosities with the wire cages over them to prevent damage from stray basketballs, are often ticking, but they feel meaningless. Is it 10 a.m.? Is it 2 p.m.? Without the bell ringing, without the Pavlovian signal that dictates the lives of students, time loses its linearity. You are floating in a temporal soup. This environment triggers a deep, primal unease because it represents a glitch in the social simulation. We are conditioned to believe that these institutions are permanent, active, and vital. Seeing one dormant is like seeing a sleeping giant. You are afraid to wake it up. You find yourself walking softly, your sneakers squeaking violently against the waxed floor, the sound echoing down the corridor like a gunshot. You are an intruder in a temple of knowledge that has closed its eyes. Why does this imagery resonate so deeply with millions of people online? Why do we scroll through photos of empty schools on the internet at 3 a.m.? It is because the school was our first introduction to the system It was the first place where we were just a number, a grade, a statistic. Returning to it in our minds, or seeing it empty, allows us to deconstruct that trauma. We are looking at the stage set after the play has ended. We are looking for the ghosts of our former selves in the negative space. The hook of this experience isn't just the creepiness. It is the realization that the building itself has a memory. It has absorbed the laughter, the fights, the tears, and the boredom of generations. And now, in the heat of July, it is exhaling. This is not just a building. It is a physical manifestation of the passage of time. And standing in it feels like standing at the edge of the world. You shouldn't be here. The script says this scene is supposed to be crowded, but the actors are gone, and you are left alone with the scenery, realizing how fake, and yet how terrifyingly real it all was. As we move deeper into the building, venturing away from the main entrance and into the labyrinth of the academic wings, the sensation of wrongness intensifies. This is the rising action of our psychological journey. We are no longer just observing the silence. We are beginning to interact with the ghosts of the social hierarchy. In every school, there is an invisible map overlaying the physical floor plan. There is the corner where the popular kids stood. There is the bathroom where the smokers hid. There is the specific locker bank that belonged to the seniors. During the school year, these invisible territories are guarded fiercely. They are war zones of social capital. But now, in the summer silence, the borders have dissolved. You can walk anywhere. You can stand in the spot that used to terrify you. You can touch the locker that belonged to the person who broke your heart, and it is just cold metal. The power dynamics that defined your entire existence from ages 14 to 18 have evaporated, leaving behind only the architectural skeleton that supported them. Let's look closely at the objects that remain. The bulletin boards are particularly haunting. They are often frozen in time, displaying flyers for a spring dance that happened 3 months ago, or a sign-up sheet for a club that has long since disbanded. These papers are curling at the edges, yellowing in the harsh summer sun. They are artifacts of a civilization that has temporarily collapsed. Seeing a "Good Luck on Finals" banner in the middle of July creates a potent feeling of Anemoia, nostalgia for a time you never knew, or in this case, a time that feels centuries ago, even though it was only weeks. You realize that the intense stress of those finals, the life or death feeling of that dance, was fleeting. It meant everything then, and it means absolutely nothing now. The school hallway in summer functions as a vanity mirror, showing us the futility of our past anxieties. The silence mocks the noise we used to make. We turn a corner and encounter the cafeteria. If the hallway is the artery, the cafeteria is the heart. Seeing it empty is perhaps the most jarring visual of all. The tables are usually folded up against the wall, looking like futuristic monoliths, or stacked in impossible geometric formations to allow the custodians to wax the floor. The vast open space, designed to hold hundreds of shouting voices, amplifies the silence to a deafening degree. You can hear the hum of the vending machines, glowing with their artificial blue light, offering snacks to no one. This room was the arena of social judgment. Who you sat with defined who you were. To stand in the center of an empty cafeteria is to stand in the center of a Roman Colosseum after the gladiators have died. You feel a phantom pressure on your chest. You might remember the loneliness of eating alone, or the joy of laughing with friends until milk came out of your nose. The space holds both traumas and triumphs in equal measure. But without the people, the room is just a large, industrial box with terrible acoustics. It is stripped of its magic and its terror. The details here are microscopic and overwhelming. You notice the gum stuck to the bottom of a door frame, black and fossilized, a rebellious act from 1999 that has survived decades of cleaning. You notice the specific pattern of the terrazzo floor, a chaotic confetti of beige and gray chips that you stared at for hours while waiting in line. These textures are ingrained in your subconscious. They are the background textures of your coming-of-age movie. In the summer, without the distraction of social survival, you are forced to confront the set design of your youth. The rising action here is the realization that the school was a container. It shaped you, squeezed you, molded you, and then spat you out. Walking through it now, you feel like a detective investigating a crime scene where the crime was growing up. The evidence is everywhere. The scratched initials in the paint, the dent in the locker, the stain on the ceiling tile. The building is a witness. And as you walk deeper towards the gym or the library, the conflict begins to bubble up. The conflict between the person you are now and the child you left behind in these halls. The ghost is not the building. The ghost is you. The core conflict of the liminal experience in a summer school hallway is an internal civil war. It is the clash between memory and reality. As you stand before a row of empty classrooms, the doors locked and the lights off, you are forced to confront the version of yourself that used to inhabit this space. This is not a peaceful reunion. It is a violent collision of timelines. You remember the version of you that walked these halls, the insecurity, the bad haircuts, the overwhelming hormonal emotions, the certainty that this moment was the most important thing in the world. And you, the adult observer, know the truth. None of it mattered. This knowledge creates a painful dissonance. You want to reach back in time and tell that kid in the hallway that it's going to be okay, that the math test doesn't define their worth, that the rejection isn't the end of the world. But you can't. You are separated by an invisible wall of time, trapped in the summer silence, while the ghost of your past screams in the winter of memory. This conflict manifests physically. You might feel a tightness in your stomach as you pass the principal's office. Even as an adult, even knowing that no one is there, the symbol of authority still holds power over your nervous system. The darkened glass of the administrative wing looks like the eye of Sauron, currently sleeping but ready to wake. This proves that the school wasn't just a building. It was a psychological conditioning center. It taught us to fear authority, to obey the bell, to walk in single file. Seeing it empty feels like a rebellion. You are breaking the rules just by existing here without a hall pass. This illicit feeling adds a layer of thrill to the melancholy. You are seeing the machine naked, stripped of its power. The conflict is the realization that the great and powerful Oz is just a man behind a curtain, or in this case, just cinder blocks and cheap paint. Consider the lost and found box, often overflowing and left in a corner during the break. It is a mass grave of forgotten objects. A single sneaker, a winter jacket, a notebook with history scrawled on it. These items represent the conflict of abandonment. Why were they left? Did the owners simply forget? Or did they want to leave a part of themselves behind? Each object is a story that was cut short. In the silence of the hallway, these objects scream. They remind you of the friends you lost touch with, the hobbies you gave up, the parts of your personality that you pruned away to fit in. The summer school hallway forces you to look at the debris of adolescence. It asks you, what did you leave behind in a place like this? Did you leave your innocence? Your creativity? Your confidence? The hallway is a mirror that reflects not your face, but your history. The atmosphere in this section of the journey is thick with canopsia, the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that is usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. The conflict reaches its peak when you realize that you don't belong here anymore. You have outgrown the shell. The desks are too small for you. The posters on the walls are referencing pop culture you don't understand, or that feels ancient. You are a giant in a world built for children. This realization is painful. It is the death of childhood confirmed by geography. You can visit the location, but you cannot visit the time. The hallway stretches out before you, an infinite tunnel of linoleum, and you realize that you are walking away from your past with every step, even as you try to walk towards it. The silence is no longer just quiet. It is judgmental. It asks you what you have done with the time since you left. Have you become who you promised you would be when you were staring out of these windows, dreaming of escape? The conflict is not between you and the school. It is between you and your own expectations. And then, slowly, the feeling shifts. The terror of the conflict gives way to a strange, hypnotic acceptance. This is the comeback. The brain stops fighting the emptiness and starts to appreciate the aesthetics of the void. You stop looking for the ghosts and start looking at the light. There is a profound accidental beauty in a school hallway during summer. It is the aesthetic of Dreamcore and Vaporwave come to life. The color palette is often pastel, muted yellows, institutional greens, soft blues, washed out by the intense summer sun. Without the visual clutter of students, backpacks, and movement, the architecture becomes minimalist art. You notice the symmetry of the door frames. You notice the way the light refraction through the safety glass creates rainbows on the dusty floor. It is peaceful. It is a sanctuary. This shift in perspective allows you to see the school as a living organism that is currently hibernating. It is resting. After 9 months of absorbing the high-intensity energy of thousands of developing brains, the building needs to sleep. The low hum of the ventilation system becomes a lullaby. The dust motes are not dirt. They are stardust, suspended in the amber of the afternoon. You begin to feel a sense of safety in the isolation. In the real world outside these doors, there are taxes, jobs, responsibilities, politics, and noise. But in here, in the liminal space, none of that exists. The world has stopped. You are protected by the thick brick walls and the timeline glitch. It is a womb-like existence. For a few moments, you are free from the burden of being a person. You are just a consciousness, observing a space. The comeback is also rooted in the appreciation of potential. An empty school is not dead. It is pregnant with the future. You look at the empty desks, and you don't just see the past. You see the empty vessels waiting to be filled. In 2 months, a new kid will sit in that seat and fall in love for the first time. A new drama will unfold by those lockers. The cycle will continue. This realization reduces your existential dread. You are not the main character of this building. You are just a guest for a season. And that is liberating. You realize that your trauma, your joy, your embarrassment, it was all just a ripple in the ocean of this institution. The building holds it all, absorbs it all, and resets every summer. The wax on the floor is a reset button. It covers the scuffs of last year to prepare for the scuffs of the next. The weirdcore aesthetic often features images of empty corridors with strange text or eyes, but the reality is softer. It is the feeling of a Sunday afternoon stretched out into a month. It is the feeling of boredom, but the good kind of boredom, the kind where your mind wanders and creates worlds. Walking through the library with the books covered in plastic sheets or the shelves dusted, you feel a reverence for knowledge. The silence here is not empty. It is full of words waiting to be read. You run your hand along the spine of a book, leaving a trail in the dust, and you feel a connection to every student who will come after you. The creepiness fades, replaced by a melancholic warmth. You are sharing a secret with the building. You are seeing it in its pajamas, without its makeup, vulnerable and quiet. And you realize that you actually love this place. Not for what it was, but for what it is right now. A cathedral of silence in a noisy world. As we near the end of our journey, the second rising action occurs. We move towards the exit, but the atmosphere changes one last time. We encounter the signs of the awakening. In a distant hallway, we see a janitor's cart. We hear the faint, rhythmic sound of a buffer machine miles away in the other wing. The spell of total isolation is breaking. The custodians are the guardians of the liminal space. They are the timekeepers. They are the ones who erase the past to make way for the future. Seeing a wet floor sign in an empty hallway is a jolt back to reality. It reminds you that this stasis is temporary. The clock is ticking. September is coming. The inevitable return of the system is approaching like a storm front. This realization creates a new urgency. You want to bottle this feeling, this silence. You look at the lockers one last time, trying to memorize the specific shade of blue, the specific smell of the air. You realize that you can never really go back. Even if you come back next summer, you will be different, and the school might be different, repainted, renovated, changed. This specific moment in time is unique. The temporal shift hits you hard. You realize that you are aging. The distance between you and the students who will fill these halls is growing every year. Soon you will be a stranger to this world entirely, an artifact as ancient as the chalkboard. We pass the trophy case near the main entrance. The gold and silver cups gleam behind the glass, celebrating victories from 1985, 1996, 2012. Names of athletes who are now accountants, lawyers, parents, or perhaps deceased. This is the ultimate memento mori. Remember that you must die. The trophies stay. The people fade. But in the summer silence, the trophies look less like boasts and more like offerings to the gods of time. They are proof that people were here, that they tried, that they sweated and fought. The sunlight hits a dust mote drifting in front of a 1998 state championship trophy. And in that microcosm, you see the entire human experience, striving for meaning in a temporary vessel. The tension rises as you approach the heavy double doors that lead to the outside world. The heat radiating from the glass is palpable. Outside, the cicadas are buzzing, cars are driving, the world is churning. Inside, it is cool and still. Crossing this threshold will break the magic circle. You are about to be born again into the chaotic present. You feel a reluctance to leave. You want to stay in the glitch. You want to stay in the safety of the summer break forever. This is the Peter Pan syndrome, manifested in architecture. Leaving the hallway feels like growing up all over again. It is a painful, necessary step. The rising action is the internal scream. I don't want to go back to the real world. But the hallway pushes you out. Its silence is no longer welcoming. It is indifferent. It has finished its lesson. It is ready to go back to sleep until the bell rings. We push the heavy crash bar on the door. It makes a loud, mechanical clunk that echoes one last time through the empty corridor. A final goodbye from the building. We step out into the blinding, humid brilliance of the July afternoon. The contrast is physical. The heat wraps around you like a heavy blanket. The noise of the world, traffic, wind, birds, floods your ears, drowning out the phantom hum of the HVAC. The payoff is the immediate, visceral appreciation of the present moment. You have returned from the underworld. You have visited the land of the dead, your memories, and survived. The lesson of the school hallway. During summer break is not about school at all. It is about the impermanence of our struggles. When you were a student, walking that hallway felt like walking a tightrope. Every look, every grade, every rumor felt like it could end your life. But standing in the empty wreckage of that anxiety, you learned that it was all temporary. The school is just a shell. The hallway is just a path. You survived it. You walked out those doors then, and you walked out of them now. The liminal experience teaches us that we are fluid. We flow through these rigid institutions, and we leave them behind. We are the water. The school is the pipe. As you walk away from the building, looking back at the brick facade that looks so ordinary from the outside, you carry a secret. You know what it looks like when it dreams. You know the silence that lives at its core. You feel a strange sense of peace. The anxiety of nostalgia has been transmuted into a quiet strength. You realize that you don't need to long for the past, because the past is empty. It is just dust and echoes. The life is here, out here, in the heat, in the noise, in the messiness of the real world. The payoff is the permission to let go. You can leave the locker closed. You can leave the ghost in the hallway. The video ends not with a fade to black, but with a fade to white. The brightness of the summer sun washing out the image of the school. The final feeling is not sadness, but liberation. You are not passenger 14A or student ID 0928. You are the observer who stepped out of time and stepped back in. The summer break will end. The school will fill up again. The cycle will repeat. But for you, the hallway HUD will always be suspended in that golden, dusty silence, a perfect, eternal monument to the person you used to be. And that is enough. We keep moving forward, leaving the hallways behind, searching for new doors to open.